What is up, everyone? Welcome to a brand new sweet film podcast. Today we are talking the X-Men franchise because Deadpool 2 comes out this weekend, and man, oh man, I am touching myself tonight because we are talking about X-Men, Deadpool, Logan, all this type of stuff. And today we got a very special guest. But before we get to our special guest, Cody, how you doing today?
I'm doing fantastic, Zach, as always. I'm super excited to get talking about this. Super excited to talk about our excitement for Deadpool 2 and the entire X-Men universe. It's not as expansive as the entire Marvel Cinematic Universe, but it is a great universe that has had some bumps in the road and has had some truly, truly great and masterful films produced to us. But before we begin, you guys should know that along with all of our episodes of the Sweet Film Podcast, if you don't have time to watch or listen to it now, you will be able to find this episode along with all of our other previous episodes on both SoundCloud and iTunes. So you can go over there, go subscribe, go check it out, show us some love. But now, guys, we have a very, very special guest with us.
A beautiful guest.
A very beautiful guest.
Oh, really? Oh, thank you.
Yeah, all right. Guess he's pretty much already introduced himself. But guys, we have somebody here who loves comic book movies, who loves directors, and probably knows a lot more about film than probably a lot of the other people that we know. But I'll let him speak for himself, or we will. Say hello to Mr. Ryan O'Toole.
What's going on, guys? Ryan O'Toole here with my good buddies Zach Pope and Cody Curtis on the Sweet Film Podcast, talking X-Men. I've been rewatching all these movies leading up to Deadpool 2 because I'm just as excited about Deadpool 2 like these two gentlemen here. Deadpool was one of the biggest surprise comic book films I've seen in years. The movie was absolutely hilarious and funny and action-packed. And the X-Men universe in particular, mostly the movies have been great, but two of those movies were stinkers. But the overall franchise has been good to great. So I'm excited to talk X-Men with you guys. So thanks for having me on.
Hey, no problem, man. We're glad to have you back here. And of course, I think a lot of people, this is kind of an underrated series. Yeah, there are shit stinkers, and I mean they're bad. The films that are bad in this franchise. Let's be honest there. But I mean that's the truth, and I think that's why when people think of X-Men, they're like, give it back to Marvel. Do you guys not know that like they've made like First Class, X2, which is like one of the best comic book movies of all time. They made fucking Logan. Deadpool, Deadpool 2. I've seen. We're not really going to talk about it that much, but like they've made these great films. They've had 2 shit boxes. I would probably say 3 because I hated X-Men Apocalypse. But still.
Origins Wolverine.
Origins. And this is what I'm saying. So to start, where should we start this conversation? I think the thing is we should start with what was our first experience to X-Men? Like, was it a movie? Was it a comic? What got you guys into X-Men? Cody, I'm going to start with you. What was the one thing that really just brought you into this world? Was it one of the first X-Men films that got you into it? Was it a comic book?
I mean, in all honesty, to be perfectly clear, I was never really a big comic book reader growing up. I mean, I had seen some comics here and there, but for the most part, my experience with the X-Men universe was through the X-Men films. And speaking of which, one of, if not my favorite superhero of all time is Wolverine, and specifically Hugh Jackman's interpretation of that character. I mean, I was introduced to him in the first X-Men film, and it blew me away. The first X-Men film was a bunch of fun, and it introduced us to one of the greatest character actors, one of the greatest actors, and one of the best portrayals of a superhero we've ever gotten. And man, seeing the first X-Men film in a theater for the first time, although I was very young, it was still one of those experiences that taught me why I love movies as much as I do. But you know what? I've spoken enough. Ryan, how did you get introduced to the X-Men films?
Well, just like you, Cody, I wasn't a comic book reader growing up. I was more of a movie guy, and the X-Men movies weren't really my thing. When I was a child, I got into them when I was 9 years old, or 10 years old, I would say. I remember I had a DVD copy of X2 X-Men United, and I watched that movie first, and I was a little confused by it at first. But really getting older and older and watching these movies more, I just fell in love with this franchise. I mean, the X-Men universe has made some great movies. There's been 2 shit piles like Origins Wolverine and The Last Stand, but really, it was really the second X-Men film is what started it all for me. Then I watched the first one. I think the first one is really underrated. I really like that movie a lot. And First Class is one of my favorite top 3 X-Men movies. That movie is amazing. Yep. And just they brought on different directors this entire franchise, like Bryan Singer, Matthew Vaughn, James Mangold. So many talented directors have made these films, and the X-Men movies are really fantastic, and they had amazing characters, like you mentioned, Cody Wolverine. He's one of my favorite comic book characters of all time. Hugh Jackman's perfectly cast in that role. Patrick Stewart as Professor X. Ian Malcolm and Michael Fassbender as Magneto. All these characters I grew to love because of me watching the X-Men movies. So I really appreciate this franchise now today and where it is at.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I mean, where I started with the X-Men franchise, I remember my dad showing me X-Men 2 for the first time, and that film like rocked my fucking world. That film is incredible. And from then on, like I appreciated it. I remember first time I saw X-Men Origins, I was like, this movie's cool. And then I watched it older, and I was like, holy shit, this movie fucking sucks. And every time someone tells me, I like X-Men Origins Wolverine, when was the last time you watched it, bitch? When I was 5. No.
Deadpool has shooter eyes?
Every time.
Deadpool turns
X-Men
into
Origins
Cyclops.
Wolverine is the first time that a video game movie was better than the fucking movie. That video game was badass. People who played that game, you know what I'm talking about. R-rated bullshit. That was the Wolverine we wanted. But we're not ranting about X-Men Origins yet. X2, it seems like the first X-Men or the X2 were where it really brought us in. So I think that's where we should start. Back in 2000, X-Men comes out. And this is really one of the films that really kicked off the superhero genre. This and Spider-Man, in fact, are really the films that really defined the superhero genre. It wasn't just something to make fun of, like Shaquille O'Neal's fucking Steel. Is that what it was called?
Steel. Yeah.
Yep.
It's just like a porn title for that matter. and X-Men changed it. I mean, I remember my dad telling me that people were pissed when they casted Hugh Jackman. This tall, fucking Broadway star is going to play Wolverine? No, that's not part of the comics. And I mean, look at him now. He's perfect. He's perfect for the role. X-Men, I don't, and this is my thing. I don't have a lot to say about the first X-Men. I wasn't like huge on the film. In fact, I do like it. In fact, I think it's a good X-Men film. I think X2 like brought everything X-Men 1 did and brought it together. So if you guys are fine with it, do you guys just want to talk about X-Men 2?
Yeah, I'd say
sure,
that's
I could
really
talk
good.
about that.
I mean, it's a really good place to start. And funny thing is, you mentioned about Hugh Jackman, Zach. It's absolutely right. The funny thing is about this, we have this no-name person out of nowhere, Australia, who's doing performances of Oklahoma and England. And then he gets an audition and he comes in and he gets the role of Wolverine. And of course, there's all those funny stories that Jackman himself has said that when he first came in, he wasn't exactly looking the part. So they had to move the camera around his body because, in his own words, it didn't look that good. But then, in fact, for those of you who don't know, the first few shots that we get of Jackman when he's in that cage fight at the very beginning of the film, those were actually some of the last scenes that they shot of the movie because Jackman wasn't looking the part yet. But yeah, and then X2, the stakes are raised. And one of the things that's great about the X-Men films is that they're not just superhero films. They're actually films that talk about diversity, about becoming the best version of yourself. And of course, X2 is the first film in the series that we got a glimpse of that berserker rage that Wolverine would have from the rest of the series. And it was truly, truly brilliant. I mean, everything from top to bottom, the performances, in my opinion, are better. The action sequences are breathtaking. The pace is phenomenal. This film, across the board, it's one of the very few superhero films that, from the first to the second, it raised the stakes in every single way possible, and it made other superhero films or other directors who were looking to come and direct superhero films, they had to look at themselves and they say, hey, can we be better than this film? Can we push the stakes as much as they did? And X-Men 2, it paid off in a very, very big way.
Well, X2 is very underrated, in fact. And when you bring up the action sequences, one of my favorite X-Men scenes is the scene with Nightcrawler in X-Men 2. That scene's fucking incredible.
Oh yes.
And Ryan, go ahead, take it away. Talk about X2.
Oh yeah, I really like X-Men too. It's a million times better than the first one. That opening scene with that opening scene with Nightcrawler is amazing, fucking badass. And I kind of thought Nightcrawler was going to be a weird character, but no, he fit into that film extremely well. And yeah, Cody talked about it. Just the performances are great. We got to see Wolverine truly be the Berserker Wolverine for the first time. And one of my favorite scenes in X2 is his fight with Lady Deathstrike.
Yeah.
That scene is fucking amazing. Like, Lady Deathstrike, man, she is brutal. And we also got to see Stryker in the film for the first time, played by Brian Cox.
And that goes to say something. I always forget to say this, is that Magneto, the thing that's so special about this villain is that you can see his ideology. You can see his ways of thinking to the point where you would join his side. You know, it's very special in that manner. And every film in the X-Men universe has always carried that throughout.
If I could not pick Wolverine, my other favorite character is Magneto. Yeah. I would be Magneto. I believe in everything he says. He's really, I agree with you, Zach. You would want to join Magneto's side. You totally see where he's coming from. He sees what you see why he is the way he is. You know, his mother was killed in the Holocaust, and so that really hurt him, and so he doesn't see the way humans think, and he thinks mutants should be treated the same way as humans, and that's just really resonant. I love Magneto.
Oh, yeah. Now, X-Men 2. It's amazing. But 3 years later, Brett fucking Ratner, you fucking pedophile.
Oh, no.
Don't even bring that up. You ruined. You're a fucking asshole, dude. But besides that, you made a horrible film. You made a horrible film.
And Bryan Singer you made a horrible decision leaving this film.
Jesus. I know, he would have made fucking what? Jack the Giant Killer and Superman Returns?
Yep.
But X-Men The Last Stand. What can I say about this film?
Oh boy.
So, Jean Grey's not dead.
I like seeing all the different heroes. I like seeing all the different heroes and villains in here. I thought that was cool. It does have some cool action sequences, but really the film's a mess. The pacing's a mess. You kill off Cyclops in the most ridiculous, stupid way. Fucking you kill off Professor Xavier in a dumb way. And
yeah.
Oh my god, this is the thing about the X-Men franchise is there literally is no continuity. Fox is, who gives a fuck? Make good movies. But then you make the X-Men The Last Stand, and it's like, they literally had to make a sequel to make this film bye-bye.
You know, here's the thing. The awful thing about this whole thing is with Bryan Singer leaving the franchise is that we knew what he was moving forward. We knew he was going to move forward with the Phoenix Saga. We were going to get that. And they brutalized that story structure that we could have gotten. It could have been excellent. It could have been brilliant, but it wasn't. One thing we can say about all these X-Men films, even the ones that are trash, is that one continuous piece is always great, and that's Hugh Jackman's Wolverine. And it's no different here. Of course, as these films go along, Hugh Jackman just keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger and more ripped and more physically intimidating. But then, of course, X-Men The Last Stand is the film that started introducing us to the early forms of the memes. Who knows about the Juggernaut? Let's talk about that for a little bit, shall we?
I'm the Juggernaut, bitch! You can't take that line serious.
You literally ruined my day. I forgot about that. I haven't seen X3 in fucking forever. Here, for
I just rewatched this.
The people who are watching this video, you see this. Throw it in the trash.
And if you guys don't know, for those of you who are listening, Zach just picked up a copy of X-Men
and
3.
Ryan just did the same thing.
They threw out their copies of X-Men The Last Stand, and it's understandable. Do you know why? Because X-Men The Last Stand, it's complete and utter garbage. And
I would rather watch X-Men Origins Wolverine, to be honest, which is the next film that takes place 3 years later.
You know what? How about this? At the end of X-Men The Last Stand, we got that steroid juice that Magneto took like 3 shots, like 6 shots from. That's supposed to zap away his powers. And then at the end of the film, you see him move the little tiny chess piece. That
the film didn't make sense at all, and that's why we go on 3 years later. They try to reboot this damn thing with X-Men Origins Wolverine, which is just sad because you got Gavin Hood, and if you read behind the scenes, they bullied him. And this guy is a really good director. Do not put this film aside, but oh my fucking god, the CGI wasn't done. You ruined fucking Deadpool. You ruined Deadpool. I see, Ryan. You actually own that film. That's the only X-Men film I refuse to own. I refuse to own it. But the thing is, this is the Iron Man 2 of this universe. They tried making spin-offs of Gambit, spin-offs of this character, spin-offs of fucking Black Eyed Peas.
Robin of the X-Men.
Oh my god.
Okay,
don't even bring up Deadpool.
Okay, here's the thing. This is what I'm gonna say. This is what I'll say is that if there is one good thing that can come out of X-Men Origins Wolverine before they completely butchered him and ruined him, the few lines that we got from Ryan Reynolds at the beginning of the movie, there's one, and Ryan Reynolds is an actor and a person. Everybody knew that he was a good choice for Deadpool. We didn't know they were going to do what they did to him. But here's the thing. They not only ruined Deadpool, they completely butchered the character of Wolverine. Who remembers when Wolverine is in Ma and Pa Kent's house, their ranch house, and he discovers he has adamantium claws for the first time? And then he starts touching them, and he destroys everything in the freaking bathroom.
Why the fuck did he become a fucking lumberjack?
Oh, and let's talk about hey, who remembers just exactly how fake those claws looked?
Well, they look
fake. I see. Ching, 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 ching.
To be honest,
can we talk about when he stays at those old people's house?
Oh my god.
He breaks some shit in the bathroom and he's like, "Don't worry, I'll pay for that."
Or better yet, how about the fact that Buffalo Bill? Not Buffalo Bill. How about the fact that the Blob sounds like Buffalo Bill from Silence of the
don't even bring up the Blob. No, my god.
Can I say? I will actually say one good thing about this film that I wish we would have gotten something more of it in Logan. I wish we would have seen Victor Creed again. I think the actor who they picked to play Victor Creed was fantastic.
Liev Schreiber.
Schreiber. No. Fantastic actor and
he's a great actor.
And I think he was great pick as Sabretooth. I even thought some of their action scenes were decent. Like I said, that was the best parts of X-Men Origins Wolverine was his relationship with his half-brother. And
without a doubt.
And I wish they would have brought that into Logan or a future installment. But I mean, I think everyone was just trying to forget about this film, which is why.
Why did Gambit need to be in this movie?
Hey, Gambit wasn't too bad in the film. I actually liked it. But 2 years later, they reboot the franchise again. 1962, X-Men First Class takes place during the Cuban Missile Crisis. And let me tell you,
this is a fucking good movie.
It is. And this is my favorite X-Men film.
Amazing. It's not better than Logan. It's in my top. No. It might be my number 2. That might be my number 2 or 3. I'm not sure yet.
But out of all the X-Men films, like the X-Men films, not the spin-offs or anything, this is
the ones that have the X in the title.
Yes, pretty much. The recasting of McAvoy
and
Fassbender, and I'll even
Jennifer Lawrence.
Jennifer Lawrence was fantastic in First Class. It wasn't even the action that was amazing in First Class, because I don't think First Class has the best action, but it's the story they tell.
It's a great prequel.
Yeah, it's to care about the way it opens up with the encampment with Fassbender's character is, oh my god, Magneto's character. It's heartbreaking.
The bacon.
Pretty much, and
Kevin
Bryan
Bacon
Singer.
as a villain.
He was a good villain too.
He was a great villain. I loved him.
Here's the thing: Kevin Bacon, he was a phenomenal villain. The thing that's a shame, though, is I think he's very criminally underrated because I don't hear a lot of people talk about when they talk about great superhero villains. I don't hear many.
He's in my top 3 X-Men villains for sure.
I mean, I don't hear a lot of people talk about Sebastian Stan as a villain, but if there's one thing, Zach, you are absolutely right. The story in here is great. And, this is a very, very personal story about a group of people who are different, who are trying to find a home for themselves and trying to find other people who are like them. And this story, no matter the amount of action or CGI or things that are thrown up on the screen, above besides Logan, this is probably the film. This is probably the X-Men film that actually makes me tear up the most at the end of the movie. Because that relationship between Charles Xavier and Eric Lensher, Magneto and Professor X throughout the entirety of the movie, it is so strong. It is so well done. It is so brilliantly portrayed by Michael Fassbender and James McAvoy that by the end of the film, I mean, it's just heartbreaking to see them go their separate ways.
Oh, 100%. And I mean, let's talk about Bryan Singer for a second. Holy shit. You guys, or not Bryan Singer, fucking Matthew Vaughn. Matthew Vaughn. Fantastic director. And you guys know he was supposed to direct X-Men The Last Stand?
Nope.
No, I did not. It sucks.
Well, now you do.
It would have been a much better movie.
And I think he probably saw it and is like, oh my god, I should have done it. I ruined a franchise. I need to turn this shit back around.
And he was just coming off of Kick-Ass, too, so he made 2 great comic book movies.
Oh, yeah, and First Class is great. First Class, there's just something special about it. I mean, this is actually the first film, I think, that actually made me look at the X-Men franchise and be like, damn, this is really good. Like, really, really good. And I'll even go to say that I think this is where they started back on their upkick, even though I think Days of Future Past is a little overrated. Sorry. But I think First Class is fantastic.
Okay. You know what? We can certainly talk about how Days of Future Past is overrated.
This is my top 3.
But what X-Men First Class, I mean, this is the film. This is the film that put the X-Men franchise back on the board. And it's because of what Matthew Vaughn did. The direction is great. I mean, even some of the action scenes in X-Men First Class, they're fantastic as well. And of course, X-Men First Class, we have one of the greatest cameos ever in film history, in my opinion.
Go fuck yourself.
I agree.
That's the best cameo ever. Go fuck.
Absolutely. And that even leads us into the next film, The Wolverine, the second film.
Yes.
I watched today.
And Ryan, I want you to start because I just watched it too a couple days ago, and I find this to be very underrated. Besides the last act, I think the last act's a little trashy, but I think the rest of the film's like great. So you start, Ryan.
I thought it was a good movie. I really enjoyed the Wolverine going to Japan, learning the samurai way. But Wolverine. I liked the first hour of this movie, but once it gets to the final act, gets really cartoonish with the villain Viper. Is that her name? Yeah. The Snake Girl. She was stupid as all hell. But I really liked the relationship with Wolverine and the girl. I think she was in Batman v Superman. I forgot her name.
Yukio?
Yokio. The love interest for Wolverine in this movie. I thought she was really good in this film.
And the thing about the Wolverine is I think the action sequences, that one with the train is like boom. Like fucking amazing. I love the action sequences in the Wolverine. When they shoot all the arrows at him and they get stuck in him, it just goes like there's some memorable moments in the Wolverine that I think paved the way to Logan.
Spoiler alert! Ching. Adamantium claws gone.
Yep, gone. And you know what else is? This is important for the character, in my opinion. But one thing we can say about Hugh Jackman, compared to the other X-Men films that we got in the past, just his performance, not just that, Hugh Jackman's body transformation for Logan and Wolverine in this film is completely out of this world. I mean, more than anything, this film, besides Logan, this, in my opinion, was the best performance of Wolverine and Logan that Hugh Jackman had given.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, for the first 2 acts, this is exactly the kind of Wolverine film that I personally wanted to see. That broken down, that soldier, that person who needs to keep on fighting. And the action scenes in this film, it's funny. Every single time I watch the Wolverine now, I do not... it's got that PG-13 rating. I never consider this to be a PG-13 film because this is one of the most, not just violence-wise, but emotionally, it's one of the most brutal comic book movies that you can watch.
Have you seen? There's an unrated. I have the unrated version on the Blu-ray. It's even worse. It's more gory. It literally is rated R.
Yeah. No, but in all honesty, that's what I want from that's what I want from an X-Men film is if we're going to go, and this is the first real outing that we get as Wolverine, and it was brilliantly done, and it was the first film that James Mangold would direct with this character.
He nailed it.
Oh, he did. James Mangold's a very great director. Now, I think the thing about the Wolverine is it ends with a great, I would even say a great end credit scene with Magneto and Professor X.
Professor X. They
And-
didn't.
Even though Professor X got blasted.
Whoa! Magneto got his powers back. Whoa! Professor X didn't die.
Oh, whoa. Oh, did the last stand happen? A little bit of it did. So, these end credit scenes obviously furthers us right into X-Men Days of Future Past. An overrated film. Still a really good film. I enjoy it. It's just not as
I
good as...
highly disagree.
Yeah,
But-
completely disagree. Sorry, Zach.
I'm going to let you guys talk. Change my mind, and then I'll start talking when you guys change my mind.
Funny enough, I'm actually watching Days of Future Past, but I love Days of Future Past. I've seen this movie like 5 times in the theater. I love this film. I mean, Bryan Singer, his triumphant return to directing in the X-Men franchise. This movie's fucking amazing. Like the score, we've actually got a great X-Men theme since X-Men 2. Like this movie's really good. Michael Fassbender gives his best performance as Magneto. I mean, that speech he gives at the end is amazing. I mean, that whole White House showdown at the end is one of my favorite moments in a superhero film. Like, it really shows that there's a lot of stakes in this franchise with the Sentinels, these unstoppable Terminator-ish looking robots. And I just really like Hugh Jackman's performance, James McAvoy. They combined the old cast and the new cast perfectly. And yeah, this movie's great.
It absolutely is, and I will add something more to that. And it's not just the action; it's also the story and the relationship between the characters. Because if you look at Charles Xavier in this film compared to the others, he's in his lowest low. He's in the darkest place that he's ever been in his life. He gave up his powers. He feels as though everybody in his life has disappeared from him except for Hank Beast, who is still there taking care of him. You know, he's an alcoholic. He's lost his powers. His best friend has left him. Everyone he thought was in his life he cared about, they're gone. And he needs to find a way to hope again. This whole movie is just a giant theme about hope because every character, they're looking for hope. They're trying to get back from the future that they don't want, that's going to destroy them. They're trying to bring a better future for everybody else on the planet. And of course, we have Mystique, who's trying to go out of her way, find targets, kill them, and then you have Magneto, Eric Lenser trying to recruit her, and then you have Charles Xavier trying to go after Eric Lenser along with Wolverine and trying to fix their relationship again because it's just the outcome that they're trying to fix so they can have a better future. And of course, we got one of the most memorable superhero scenes in any movie. And that's the Quicksilver scene inside of the White House kitchen.
Quicksilver is amazing.
I remember when the footage and the photos came out of him. It came out and everyone's like, what the fuck is this man wearing? And
Pink Floyd shirt.
It is the top 5 best sequences in the X-Men franchise.
And Quicksilver is and this is the Quicksilver we needed in the MCU.
You didn't see that coming. I didn't see that coming.
You didn't see that coming?
And you know what? That's something I will say. X-Men Days of Future Past introduced a lot of good things. You guys kind of got me into wanting to watch the film again, so I guess I'll go watch it again.
I gotta finish watching it after the stream.
But I will say, like I said, I just think it's overrated in the fact that everyone hails it as like one of the best comic book films, and I don't think that at all. I think it's a really good comic book film. Just for me, the thing that never works with it is the pacing. The pacing doesn't work for me for some reason, but I will say I love all the characters coming together. I love both generations of both different X-Men casts coming together, and especially the ending when Logan sees that Cyclops is alive and Jean Grey. It was a great feeling in that. You know what I mean? Like, it was a great thing to go from there.
We can't forget about En Sabah. No.
You know what?
That was an amazing.
Here's the thing. Here's the number one thing that X-Men Days of Future Past did right. We had some great X-Men films, but X-Men Days of Future Past, it erased the timeline of all the horrendous X-Men films of the past.
It did. It
Yeah,
did.
dude.
Got rid of the Last Stand, which thank God we didn't need that in there, and that's why we move on in the same year of 2016. Before we get to the main thing of 2016, we're gonna talk about X-Men Apocalypse.
And
To be honest, I like it, but it's very disappointing coming off of Days of Future Past in the first class.
Oh yeah. Apocalypse. I've only seen this movie once, to be honest, in theaters. I remember loving it, but I've forgotten completely a lot of things about it.
It's kind of like Jeremy Thomas' story. T- 1 day you'll forget about it, and that's how I feel about it.
It's a very forgettable film.
He had a fantastic introduction. I mean, I love the actor that got to play
Oscar Isaac is amazing as Apocalypse.
and the way, like, when he shows all the sand abilities, that's great. I actually really enjoy the new cast. I didn't think they got enough stuff to do. I love the girl they picked to play Jean Grey. I think she's fantastic.
Sophie Turner.
Sophie Turner, amazing actress and Game of Thrones alum. Nightcrawler, nice pick. Cyclops, Ty Sheridan, having him come in there as well.
He was
You know, it was a nice introduction to these new casts. Mystique obviously didn't give a shit at all in this film. Magneto was a great introduction. The Four Horsemen, it had a lot of good stuff in it. It just didn't complete the package. I think overall a lot of the action sequences are great for me, but the villain just towards the end, I was just like, he's just one note. I can't come to be on his side, and that's just to say maybe it's because the X-Men franchise has had a lot of great villains per se.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, it's like having several different really great ingredients to make a meal, but then you don't have somebody who can put them together very well, which is a shame because Bryan Singer is the one who directed X-Men Apocalypse, and it's a shame that it didn't come out the way that it should have. Some of the what I'll say is the beginning of this film with Magneto is one of my favorite scenes in the X-Men franchise because it really sets you up with him as a character more emotionally because he's kind of put away all the Magneto stuff and he watches his daughter,
forest,
and his wife get killed right in front of him. But honestly, for me, there's a lot I forget about this film. Oscar Isaac, I thought for the first half of the movie, he did a great job as Apocalypse. You know, I thought he did a great job as a whole, but the character of Apocalypse, I thought was really only good in the first half. The thing I remember most about this film, number one, we got another Quicksilver sequence. Number two is the fact that we got more of an emotional tie-in with Quicksilver. In all honesty, I'm not sure who the actor is who plays him, but I cannot... Evan Peters, yeah. I cannot wait to see what they do with Quicksilver in the future because he is one of my favorite X-Men characters now.
He's great. I think the problem with the villain is that they didn't focus enough on him or the way they wrote him. He just felt very one-noted. And, I mean, Apocalypse had a lot of stuff it was really piling onto it. I'm curious to see what Kinberg does as his first directed film with the Dark Phoenix. I think the Dark Phoenix looks mind-boggling great. And I just love everything they're building up with this X-Men franchise before it goes over to Disney.
I'm curious to see how the Dark Phoenix is going to be when that first trailer is going to drop.
You know what?
Back to February, so it probably won't be till the end of this year.
And you know what? Speaking of February, speaking of villains that are one note, I think there was something else that came out in 2016. And you know what? I think there might be someone in this room who's really excited to talk about it. Zach.
Fuck yeah. It's a little indie film called Deadpool. In my top 10 of all time, to be honest. I love Deadpool to death. Keep going, Ryan.
Back to this. Sorry.
Back to the. I love Deadpool. I love the soundtrack. I love everything.
I love the fucking opening credits.
Absolutely. A fucking masterpiece of cinema. I honestly, I will go as far. This is a masterpiece to me. I love Deadpool. The only con I have is the villain. The villain is very one note, but he does what he has to do. Deadpool has the meta humor, the fourth wall, the music, the humor, the love story. This is the only love story I care about in any comic book film. And dear God, it's just everything I wanted it to be. It is so funny. I watch this film probably like 3 times a week, and I touch myself every time watching it.
You know what? Here's the thing. Another thing that Deadpool does, the MCU may have a few things. It may have a lot of things. What it does not have is the greatest Stan Lee cameo ever put to screen
If you guys want
inside
to
of the strip club.
He's in the strip club.
great.
You can't buy happiness, but you can rent it for 5 minutes.
You guys want to know what's funny? There's rumors that he was CGI'd in there, and he didn't know what he was saying.
What?
That he didn't know he was in a strip club. I don't know if it's true, but I've heard those rumors about that, which I just think's funny. I mean, Deadpool is just like a fucking smart film. One of my favorite jokes in it is when he goes, McAvoy or Stewart, these timelines are so confusing.
McAvoy Stewart. Cup
You
shot.
guys seen
Everything-
127 hours. Spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert. I love when he's fighting and he puts the thing in the guy's mouth and he's like, I never say this, but don't swallow.
I mean,
Car chase.
Deadpool is very cleverly written. What I love about Deadpool, man, there's so many things. I guess the number one thing is we live in a world where everybody is so uptight and so afraid to get offended by anything. And then Ryan Reynolds, number one, let's talk about how brilliant Ryan Reynolds and his team was to get this film made. Oh, Ryan Reynolds. Guess what, guys? Somebody accidentally released some test footage that we had for Deadpool, and then the fans swarm in. They're like, yeah, we want this movie, make it like that. 24 hours later, they get the green light to make it, and we get the best Deadpool film that we could have possibly gotten. It's smartly written, the action is fantastic, the humor is great, the chemistry between all the actors is great. Negasonic Teenage Warhead is one of the greatest introductory characters ever put to screen, in my opinion. And let's be honest, Ryan Reynolds, he is the perfect Deadpool.
And it was the first R-rated film in the X-Men franchise. And it's also the biggest
we got
money maker.
And we got a good Colossus.
Yeah.
Let me take you to the professor.
Brush your teeth, hero. It takes it takes couple moments to be hero. You wake up.
Yeah.
Great.
Deadpool's just one of my favorite audience experiences I've had. Opening night, seeing this in IMAX is the perfect experience. My God, that opening credits, it gets me every time of how much hilarious and well thought out it was, and just making Deadpool the character what he is, breaking the fourth wall, swearing and just kicking ass and cracking jokes. This movie was just amazing. I really like Deadpool.
Yeah.
I mean, it was. I mean, we can talk about one of the biggest things that Deadpool did, which is great. But, the opening sequence, the opening lines that Ryan Reynolds gives, oh, hello, I bet you're wondering whose balls did I have to fondle to get my own film? Well, I can't tell you, but it does rhyme with Polverine. I mean, this this film is so great. But one of the best things that Deadpool did is it gave the opportunity for studios to not be afraid to produce more mature stories and more mature films brilliantly.
The next film, Logan.
Which does bring us to the next film.
What are you doing?
It's Logan.
It's time to go home.
It's man, a Logan. Logan is fucking incredible. And I was speechless walking out of Logan. I don't know about you guys.
I was in tears.
Yeah, it is single-handedly. I would go as far to say probably the best made superhero film, even above The Dark Knight. I think it beats it. There's nothing wrong with Logan. The action is pure visceral berserker. The acting between all the actors are phenomenal. X-23 Laura is, if you guys didn't watch the Sweet Film Awards this year, she was nominated for a bunch of things for pretty much being a standout in that film. Patrick Stewart gives the best performance of his career. And
absolutely.
Even the villains in Logan were great. This film is magnificent. It is everything you want from a Wolverine film, and it's a way for him to go out and just be his last outing as Wolverine, it was the perfect thing to go with. And Ryan, I want to add this: has your brother seen Logan and Deadpool?
No, he's not. But he
Are you
wants
fucking?
to-
Are you kidding me?
He's not seen Logan, but he wants to see Deadpool. And I kill him. I want to kill him every time that he's not seen Logan. Now let me talk about Logan for a second.
Please do.
Logan is hands down the best X-Men film. It is one of the greatest comic book films. It's my number 2 comic book film of all time. This film just breaks my heart every time I watch it. It is the most realistic, true version of how to portray a broken down superhero of what he once was. Hugh Jackman, man, why didn't you give this guy a fucking Oscar nomination? And Patrick Stewart, this is some of the best acting I have seen last year. I mean, Hugh Jackman fucking killed it in this movie. Patrick Stewart was amazing in this movie. I mean, yeah, and you brought up Daphne Keane, X-23, one of the greatest child acted performances I've seen in a lifetime. This movie just gets me every time. The action's amazing. The story is really emotional and powerful about a father and a daughter who never really met before. And my God, that fucking ending when he dies. Oh my God. One of the saddest scenes I've seen in a blockbuster and of all time. This movie is just incredible. If James Mangold and his team didn't put in enough work, I'm happy that Fox really put their trust in James Mangold to create the Wolverine film he's been wanting to make ever since the Wolverine.
Yeah,
this film was amazing.
And this is like the first trilogy to really, every film got better and better. It went from shit to masterpiece. Like
shit to good to masterpiece.
So it's great. What about you, Cody? I know you love Wolverine. I know you
and oh gosh. I'm going to try to hold myself together because honestly, talking about Logan, it is very easy for me to start crying because how much I love this movie. But all of the points that you guys pointed out are exactly true. I mean, for one thing, the performances in this film are unbelievably spectacular. It's not only Patrick Stewart, Hugh Jackman gives his absolute best performance in this film. And seeing a character, the great thing about Logan is, above anything else, and this is one of the reasons why I do think it's such a powerful movie and why I think it's the greatest superhero film comic book movie of all time, is the fact that you can go into Logan. You can literally go into it without having seen any of the other X-Men films. You may want to for a point of reference, but you can watch it without any of that prior knowledge and understand what's going on. You understand this is a story of a broken down man, somebody who has been to hell and back, somebody who has given up on hope, somebody who just wants to go out to the middle of nowhere with his friend and blow his brains out because he has lived nothing but misery. And then some little glimmer of light comes into his life and makes him realize that there is still stuff worth fighting for. There is still something that you can live for and something that you can protect. And not just the performances, the way the story was put together, the way the screenplay was put together. Heck, the screenplay itself was nominated for an Oscar.
And deserved it.
Yeah, it should have got more.
And
it should have gotten more.
Hell yeah.
Not even go as far. I'm going to add on to that, Cody, before we move on to the last topic, and that is Logan. I mean, the thing about it is, you did mention, like, you didn't need to see the other ones, and this is another one of those films that I think really changed the landscape. That it's not a superhero film. This is no superhero film. Just as Deadpool wasn't really a superhero film either. This is a Western film. This is a drama, a hard drama with good action.
Indie, yeah.
Indie film in some sense, and I think that's where it goes to say is that I think with Deadpool and Logan, the thing that it changes is that, like, my dad, who is not a huge into superhero films, he liked Deadpool. He has not seen Logan yet, but I know he will love it. It goes to a bunch of other people I've met. I remember when I went to see Logan, my friend's mom came to see it with us, and she had never really seen an X-Men film. Loved Logan, cried at the end. That goes a lot of testaments to say a lot. And with that said, let's go on to a more happy subject, and that goes into Deadpool 2 coming out this weekend. And I as I've already seen it, I'll give a little bit of my thoughts in a second, but I want to get your guys' levels. How excited are you guys for this film? Do you think it's going to be better than the first one? And I want to hear one prediction from you guys about this film, because it's going to be more funny to hear if it's right or wrong. But I won't say. I want to hear your guys' thoughts. So Ryan, I'm going to start with you, since or Cody, you want to go first?
Well, I think I was about to say what you were going to. Is that Ryan? You are our guest here, so you should be the one to speak first.
Oh, well, thank you. Really excited to see Deadpool 2. I'm seeing it Thursday night. I'm really looking forward to seeing this movie. I've heard nothing but praise about it. Zach, you saw it early. Lucky you. But I'm excited to see how much this film is kind of different from the first one, but how more funny it's going to be. I heard it's more hilarious. I'm very curious to see how they're going to take Josh Brolin's Cable, because Cable is one of my most anticipated characters this year, because I freaking love Josh Brolin as Thanos. He's the best comic book villain of all time. I still stand by that. But Cable, this is an awesome character that I'm looking forward to seeing. But I'm also curious to see how these new characters get introduced. The X-Force characters. You have Domino. That's one of the girl. Who else? There's a bunch of other characters. The kid who was in Hunt for the Wilder People. Yeah. But a prediction for Deadpool 2? I don't know. I'd love to see a Wolverine cameo. That'd be fucking amazing. But I don't know what to expect. But I'm projecting that the opening credits is going to be kind of similar to Deadpool, but something more out of this world hilarious. But I don't like to go into film speculating much, but I'm excited to see this film.
Cody, your turn.
Now, as far as my excitement level goes, my excitement level's in the words of Dragon Ball Z. It's over 9,000. I cannot be. I am so excited for Deadpool 2. No idea. I mean, honestly, this is one of, as far Avengers Infinity War was my most anticipated film of the year, followed by Deadpool. So right now, this is my most anticipated film of this year, of this summer. I'm super pumped to go see it. You know what? I believe Ryan, above anything else, with David Leitch at the helm, the action is going to be spectacular. We know that from John Wick. We know that from Atomic Blonde. The action is going to be better than it was in the first film. That is for sure. It's probably going to be more bloodier too, just as a speculation. But also to add in with that, with this film, I don't know. You know, I don't really like speculating too much about films. What I will say is, though, considering that this film is a half an hour longer than the original Deadpool, because the first Deadpool film was about an hour and a half long, and this is about 2 hours. So one thing that I'm a little nervous about with the team, since we have the original team that wrote the first Deadpool film writing this one, I'm not so much nervous about the script as I once was. The thing I'm a little worried about is I think it may become a little convoluted if they run out of material, but, you know, that's just a worry. As far as speculations go, as far as a random speculation, I will say...
Zach's
you know, I am hoping that we get a post-credit scene, and instead of doing the Ferris Bueller's Day Off thing, I'm hoping that this post-credit scene is going to be a play off of a lot of the Marvel Cinematic Universe end credit scenes that we've gotten so far. If they take that and turn it into a very Deadpool-esque post-credit scene,
and then
parody of the MCU films, that would make my day. All right, Zach, you look like you want to talk. So.
I'm getting antsy about this. So no spoilers. I'm not going to go into theories. I'm not going to say if your theories are right or wrong. I'm just going to say, if you guys were watching me in the corner, I'm only going like this because I'm antsy and I'm literally remembering stuff that happened. When you're bringing up the X-Force, moments with the X-Force, I'll say, I literally almost pissed my pants laughing at some of the shit with Peter or Terry Cruz's character. That whole segment is one of the funniest moments in the whole movie.
Do you have any abilities? Yeah, I saw the ad. You're in.
Did. The more I sit on Deadpool 2, the more it rivals the first one for me. I still like the first one more because I still think the first one had a better story, but it's not because the second one was convoluted. I just think there's a story, but I appreciate the love story more in the first one. The second one's a different type of film. but it is visceral. It is bloody. It's the bloodiest film I've seen since like the Django Unchained or Kill Bill. It is gory. It is action packed. The action is 10 times better. It's like John Wick type action. It's wide shots, long shots,
and the story's like Terminator 2.
In a sense, yes. Cable's great. Domino is the biggest standout in the whole film. Same with Colossus. Colossus really surprised me how good he is in there. And in a sense, it actually makes you feel for Wade Wilson more. You actually get some emotional arcs with him, which was something I did not expect throughout that film. But yeah, I'm literally remembering scenes that made me almost pee my pants of how much.
Well, that's dark. What are you, from the DC universe?
You're no hero. You're just a clown dressed up as a sex toy.
And the best thing about the film is they do pick at the MCU. They do pick at the DCEU. They do have more jokes than they showed in the trailer.
I'm sure he says Thanos jokes.
I won't say yes or no to that, but I will. I want to mention this. There's 2 end credit scenes. There's 2 end credit scenes. The first one, it's okay. The second one, holy fucking shit. Holy fucking shit. I'm not even lying. The second post-credit scene, nothing will ever beat it. Nothing will ever beat this post-credit scene. Nothing will ever beat it in any sense of the way. There is no way of even guessing what it is. It is something so wonderful. And even though it kind of does something to the whole film in general, I loved it. It literally bumped my rating up. That's how good the post-credit scene was.
Okay. Here's a question. You said that there is a lot of references to the MCU, to the DCU, to the stuff they like to make fun of. Is there more references than what was in the first Deadpool film?
It's pretty even. More DC references than I'll say Marvel.
Okay.
But, there's I'll stop there. I'm not going to go anymore.
Okay.
There's lots of
those villains usually suck.
I'll just say this. There's lots of surprises in this film. There's lots of surprises you don't want to know. And I'll tell you this. Any of these surprises you think about, it's like flipping it on its back in 316 and ass fucking it. You're not going to remember it at all. You're not going to even be able to
Snyder
guess
direct this?
Pretty much. You're not. I'm being serious. You're not going to be able to guess the things. This film is very unpredictable in a lot of routes. The story is very predictable in its sense, but overall the whole film is not predictable, which is something I really appreciated with. You're gonna have a blast. If you love the first Deadpool, I think you're just gonna love the second one just as much. Like I said, the only reason I like the first one more is because that love story, but besides that, bloody action, gory, makes you laugh your ass off, and Deadpool 2 is the whole package. I literally cannot wait to see it again Thursday night, and probably 3 more times this weekend.
Honestly, that is fantastic.
And go on.
Oh, I was saying, honestly, I couldn't be more hyped for this darn thing. I mean, the X-Men, like I said, X-Men First Class, X-Men Days of Future Past, a little tiny step back with Apocalypse. Then we got Deadpool, Logan, and now we got Deadpool 2. Things are just getting better and better as time goes on.
But I think that's a great place to end this podcast. This is a great episode talking with our friend Ryan about the X-Men franchise. And we'll probably have to do another one of these when X-Men Dark Phoenix, if it ever fucking comes out, or New Mutants. I'm sure we're both looking forward to those. I'm certainly looking forward to both those films, but I think this is all about Deadpool. This is leading up to Deadpool 2, and I think it was great to go back and revisit a lot of these films, even the bad ones. It was nice to get it off our chest of how bad some of these were, but of course, before we go, I do want to say thank you again to Ryan. Ryan, thank you so much for joining us again. Tell all the beautiful people where they can find you, all the people off SoundCloud, off iTunes, where they can find you on YouTube and on social media.
Well, thank you, Zach and Cody, for inviting me. It didn't take much. Of course, I would join you guys to talk X-Men. But yeah, you guys can find me on YouTube at Ryan O'Toole. It's really easy, just my name. It's O-Toole. I do movie reviews, trailer reactions, Rotten or Fresh. Both of these fine gentlemen have been on my show. And we got an amazing match coming up called the Barnyard Brawl, where they are part of the Evolution, where they challenged me and Cody, the commissioners, to a match. Look forward to that. That episode is coming out on May 22nd. Look forward to that, or very soon. And also, you can find me on Facebook at Ryan O'Toole Movies, Twitter, Ryan O'Toole MR. I'm also on Stardust, just like these guys, Ryan Movie Review. Come join me. Come talk about movies with me. And Zach and Cody, thank you guys so much once again. And I'll see you guys next time. Bye!
Thank you, Ryan, for joining us again. And of course, before we get going, Cody, where can they find you, my beautiful Zach and Cody brother?
Okay, well, yeah, that's right. You guys heard it here first, or hear it pretty much every single time. We are Sweet Life Brothers, and you guys can find me here on YouTube on this platform. Just search Cody Curtis. Simple as that. Should be the first name that pops up. But you can also find me on Instagram and Twitter. If you search _Cody_Curtis, I should be on there. And of course, this podcast and pretty much whatever other project that Zach and I have coming to your guys' way. And just as a reminder, guys, if you don't have time to listen to this episode or you want to listen to previous episodes we have of this show, you can go right over either on Zach's channel, which is Zach Pope, or you can go over the SoundCloud and iTunes and you can find both of those there. Thank you guys so much for listening. You guys are all rock stars.
Yeah, you said it right. You guys are all rock stars. Again, guys, thank you so much for joining us on this new podcast episode of the Sweet Film Podcast. This was a great new edition, episode 5. You guys are really kicking it. So make sure, guys, leave some discussions down below. What do you guys want us to discuss on this podcast? What are some other guests you guys want us to get on here? Please leave us down below. We got to talk about this down as well. Also, make sure to look out for that Barnyard Brawl over on Ryan O'Toole's channel. That was a fun blast match. And go check out all the other Rotten or Fresh matches. It's just such a fun game. And it's very underrated. People are going to look at this thing years from now and be like, holy shit, this should have been like the next Schmodown. Well, it is the next Schmodown. So be ready for that shit. So, of course, you guys are seriously all amazing. You guys are all amazing. Both my hosts right here. I mean, great. Thank you so much for joining me again, Cody, for bringing this podcast together. And thank you, Ryan, for joining us. And of course, guys, without this, it wouldn't be anything without you guys. So again, make sure that like and subscribe button, especially if you're new. Hit me up on my YouTube channel, Zach Pope Reviews, or on Twitter at Pope the King. Again, seriously, you guys are all the best. So until next time, stay classy and have a sweet day.